Donald Trump Jr. can't even collude correctly. Ted Cruz, why do you hate sick people so much? And a piece of ice the size of Delaware, like the state Delaware, broke off from Antarctica this past week. All this and more on this week's episode of Politically Charged. I am, of course, Jack Berlin. I have the same cadence in all of my intros, and today is July 16th, 2017. It took me like 8 tries to get that one right. And, of course, I have a great episode for you because that's all I delivered. Like I said, Donald Trump Jr., Ted Cruz's amendment on the Senate healthcare bill. We talk about that. The piece of ice that is now floating off in the middle of nowhere. And a new segment called Quick Hitters, which is exactly what it sounds like. I hit topics really quick, like 3, 4, 5 of them. Don't remember how much I had. But thank you for tuning in. This is week 9, episode 9 of Politically Charged, which means 9 weeks of covering the Trump family presidency, which is just kind of, imploding before our eyes. Don't forget to check out the website, politicallycharged.us. Follow me on Twitter, @JackBerlin. The Instagram account is now live. All you got to do is search Politically Charged. You can't miss it. The Facebook page is now live. We got everything going on out here. Oh, the Facebook page is Politically Charged. For those of you that couldn't guess that. Everything is going on. We are growing quickly. I cannot stress how quick we are growing. Gonna have to start hiring people soon. That might be a lie, but this is not. This episode is going to start in 3, 2, 1. Life has got to be pretty good right now for Eric and Tiffany Trump. Let's see. You're not Ivanka. You didn't play president for a little bit last week at the G20. You're not Donald Trump Jr., who evidently can't even be trusted to collude with the Russians, right? So what good is he? And then you have adopted son Jared Kushner, who might be in just a little bit of legal trouble. But we'll get to that later. First, I kind of want to recap what's going on with Donald Trump Jr., because in the past week or so, as this has been developing, like I said it would last week, I've gotten a lot of questions about what's actually going on. Everybody's got a hot take, and everybody's more than willing to share their hot take. But for those that don't really keep up with politics that much, they're confused as hell. They have no idea what's going on. So I want to recap a little bit. Donald Trump Jr. in June of 2016, of course, took a meeting with a Russian lawyer weeks after clinching the nomination for being the Republican nominee for president of the United States. This Russian lawyer has Kremlin links, and she is seen as a Russian agent. So, of course, the Trumps took the meeting. She was accompanied by a Russian-American lobbyist who has been accused of acting as an unregistered Russian agent and having ties to Russian intelligence. Again, another person you should invite to all meetings. Now, this lobbyist, intelligence analyst, whatever you want to call him, for his part, he says he is not and never has been an employee of the Russian government or an intelligence officer. Only problem with that claim is that he has admitted to being in the Russian military for some time in a unit that was focused on counterintelligence. So, that bulletproof story, already got that out of the way. Donald Trump Jr. was joined at this meeting by Paul Manafort, who was the campaign manager at the time, current foreign agent, and, of course, everybody's favorite, Jared Kushner, who, when he is not trying to solve Middle East peace, is busy failing to disclose meetings on security clearance forms, which is something you can go to jail for. But, nope, still got his security clearance, still working in the White House. The quote that drew Donald Trump Jr. into this, the pitch that was made to him to have this meeting, was, "This is obviously very high intelligence level and sensitive information, but it is part of Russia and its government support for Donald J. Trump." To that, Donald Trump Jr. responded, "If it's what you say, I love it." Which is what, everybody should say when they're committing a potentially illegal act. But along from that, Donald Trump Jr. kind of not really denied it in the beginning, saying that the meeting was about adoption, which, to his credit, it's still a bad excuse for having the meeting. because though the Russian lawyer is heavily involved in lobbying for the removal of what's called the Maginski Act. The Maginski Act, I can't figure out how it's said. Basically sanctions on influential Russian people. That was his excuse the first time around. Then his excuse for having the meeting was he was told the meeting could provide him with valuable information. Still not a good one. Then he preemptively released his email chain, which the New York Times was going to release anyway. And that's how we know that he was told that the Russian government wanted Donald Trump, his father, to win the presidency, and was willing to help. Also, claimed that was everything. There was nothing else. He had been 100% transparent, only because he had been pushed by the New York Times, but still, he claimed to be 100% transparent at that point. As with everything the Trumps do, 3 days later, that was rendered moot when CNN reported there are 8 people in the meeting. Donald Trump Jr. had previously said it was him, the Russian lawyer, Kushner, and Paul Manafort. So, he's screwed. He's committed some kind of crime, but I want to clear up a little bit about collusion and treason. And I know that I've just said it in the past couple minutes that he colluded with the Russians. I didn't say treason because while treason and collusion are the most frequently thrown around terms, his real legal threat is conspiracy to commit election fraud, because it is illegal to obtain anything of value, including information, from a foreign national, which is exactly what this Russian lawyer or her translator and her lobbyist were and are. They're foreign nationals. Collusion may not be legally true, but the meeting at least shows that the Trump campaign was open to it. You don't have a meeting with the campaign manager, with senior advisors, the campaign manager, the candidate's son-in-law, who, for all intents and purposes, is a senior advisor. You don't set up a meeting with them if you do not want to hear this person out or you do not intend on using this information should it become valuable. So this whole idea that Donald Trump Jr. just was hearing her out, just wanted to see what she said, is bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Even though the lawyer and whoever the hell else was in the room didn't provide information they could use against Hillary Clinton, that doesn't mean that he didn't commit a crime. He made very clear, him, Manafort, and Kushner all made very clear they were open to accepting help from a foreign government to win an election. Not just any foreign government. Russia. You know, that country that constantly is just trolling us and antagonizing us, and that we fought like a 40-year war with, 50-year war. I can't remember what that was called. The Cold War, maybe? Shit went on for a while. Their intent to collude is only made more clear by the fact that senior members of the Trump campaign were at the meeting. Which raises the question, how in the hell does Jared Kushner still have a job, much less a security clearance? As I understand it, obviously, being 21, I've never worked in the White House. But reading things from people that have, they've all said that if you lie on the SF-86, which is the security clearance form, you lose your job. And you're essentially disgraced from the government. Jared Kushner still got his job. As far as we can tell, he still got his security clearance. The real kicker to all this is that since applying for his top secret security clearance, I should have made that clear earlier, Jared Kushner, in his role in the Trump administration, has top secret security clearance. I don't remember where I heard this, but he literally has the security clearance to be delivered plans such as the assassination of Osama bin Laden. If something like that were to come around in the Trump administration, he would have the clearance to read and look at those files. Just to give you, a little bit of reference. He managed to leave off 100 names. 100 names of foreign nationals he is met with. He also seems to have a very specific type of memory loss where he only forgets meetings with Russians. But not a psychologist. We could talk about that a different time or never. The reason him lying on the SF-86, a security clearance form, is a big deal is twofold. One, like I said, he's privy to the secretest of secret operations going on within the United States government. Two, in an extension of that, he's now open to blackmail because he did not disclose these interactions. Now, as I understand it, these interactions can be as simple as saying hello and talking to a foreign national for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. They can be as extensive as having a meeting with somebody in order to obtain information. But the point is that he lied. He opened himself up to blackmail, and he still has a job, which is ridiculous. Had something like this happened in the Obama administration, Fox News, Breitbart, all the right-wing conspiracy theorists, Alex Jones would have had a field day with this. This would have been the top story for months. Not the bigger scandal going on, not the bigger Russian collusion, even though that's still not the right word to use, scandal. Republicans would have demanded that this person be fired immediately and essentially embarrassed in public. But we live in the Trump era right now, and nothing at all really seems to make sense ever. So all of that raises the question of where in the hell do we go from here? And truthfully, I have zero idea. I think people much smarter than myself have zero idea. Obviously, Special Counsel Robert Mueller is going to probe these meetings and these emails as part of the larger investigation into Russian meddling. But it can't be a good sign when even Fox News personalities are starting to criticize Trump and his sons for this kind of behavior. And in particular, Shepard Smith, who, out of all the people on Fox News, is one that I actually do respect. I think he does a pretty good job. Brett Baer being another. Charles Krauthammer. I still cannot figure out. I suck with people's names. Even he's criticizing Donald Trump Jr. and calling it collusion. But, of course, Fox News also has people like Hannity, Jesse Waters, Eric Bolling. They're pushing back. They're pushing back hard. They're giving it their best shot, trying to defend their boy. Two of the best ones I've heard so far is that Donald Trump Jr. is the real victim here. The Democrats are out to get him. He's the real victim here. He didn't do anything wrong. And that Donald Trump Jr. is patriotic for taking the meeting. A major cable news network and their major personalities are pushing the theory that somebody meeting with a foreign national to obtain what was called highly sensitive information on their opposition is being called a patriot. That should really sum up the state of Fox News right now. Alex Jones, for his part, was not to be outdone by Hannity, who I'm pretty sure made those claims. I'm pretty sure it was him I heard make those claims. Alex Jones, not to be outdone, claimed that Donald Trump Jr. was simply doing his patriotic duty. He was simply working as an asset for a spy agency, trying to weed Russian spies out of the government. I had to share that one. That Alex Jones is, well, I mean, everybody knows Alex Jones is a joke, but his conspiracy theories are hilarious. Throughout all of this, the Republican Party has become more accepting of Russia and Putin, somehow, as evidenced by, in 2013, former Trump administration Deputy National Security Advisor, who granted was there for a very little amount of time, but was there and held an influential position, K.T. McFarland, said that Putin deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. The same Putin that kills journalists and the like. Also in 2013, Trump himself described Putin as a great leader. Yep. 2015, Rush Limbaugh, who he's basically just a bigger Alex Jones, said Republicans should like that Putin endorsed Trump because he was a strong leader. Real strong words from Republicans. In 2016 and now, of course, Trump is still iffy about going at Russia. He's holding on to that theory that there's some 400-pound person in a basement hacking into the DNC. Russia actually didn't have anything to do with it. And all of this, I decided to throw all of this in there because it really explains why his base is so unmoved by these constant revelations about Russia. For the past couple of years, they've been pitched that Putin is this mastermind, that he outfoxed Barack Obama, that he got the better of Barack Obama. And frankly, Republican leaders haven't really done anything to quiet that. It just hasn't been a mainstream view. Now that Donald Trump has brought those views into the mainstream, it's just all hell is breaking loose. The Republican Party has just kind of accepted it. I mean, last summer at their convention, they adopted a much more friendly Russian platform. I don't know how else to say it. They adopted policies that were much more friendly towards Russia. Of course, this was done after Russians had met with Jeff Sessions, who is now the Attorney General, but I digress. A couple episodes back, I argued for the Trump-Russia connections to have max effect, for the Democrats to really be able to use them as much as possible and gain from them. That Democrats might want to stop treating every revelation as the end of the world. And I still believe that to be somewhat true. I don't like the grandstanding by some people in our party, some media personalities, some congressmen, senators. I don't like the grandstanding. I feel like it really hurts it. When something big like this drops, everybody freaking out about it is hurt because those people had decided to make a little thing a big thing just to get coverage for it, which is really not the way that it should be done. But that being said, this is so important because Russia is not done with us. They've done it once. Up to this point, they've completely gotten away with it under the Trump administration. And they'll be back. Putin isn't about to just give up something that's worked so well for them, especially if they think it'll weaken us and in turn weaken sanctions against them or remove sanctions against them. Trump and Seb Gorka, who I still don't think has a job in the White House, it just kind of roams around. But Seb Gorka has said that the Trump administration is considering giving back those houses that, I think I mentioned it on a previous episode, that Obama seized from the Russians and gave them 48 hours to get out of because they were considered to be viable targets for Russian spying, that the Russians were using those as headquarters to spy on American assets. And they want to give those back, which is exactly the kind of thing that Putin would have wanted to put Trump in power for. The dots really aren't that hard to connect. Plus, Putin's got Fox News in the bag, and every time that there's a big story about a Trump family member colluding, or Trump himself, or a Trump aide colluding with Russia, that story is completely downplayed by a cable news network, Fox News, I'm looking at you, that influences millions and millions of people. Millions of people. Some people that I know watch Fox, and this is the news they get. This crap is what they believe because they're seeing it on the news. And Fox News is out there to tell the right story, tell the truth, not like these other media organizations. So people take it as fact. And it's a big reason why Democrats and Republicans are so divided. I mean, obviously there's other issues like healthcare, immigration. But what happened to the Republican Party of old, man? I'm not looking for people to be scared as hell of the Russians, but come on. Somebody in the Republican Party step up, have a backbone, challenge this. Somebody. Anybody. Jeb Bush. You'd be perfect for this. Not really, but it would be pretty funny to see Jeb Bush start trolling Trump. So I'm sure there will be some late breaking news that doesn't make it into this episode because I'm recording this in the morning. So that's going to be annoying. But enough about Donald Trump Jr. I'm really getting tired of talking all this Russia crap, but it just keeps coming back and doesn't seem to go away. I want to move on to the big story of the week. Well, the other big story of the week, the Senate healthcare bill. The Senate finally dropped their new bill Thursday from Mitch McConnell and his Republican cronies. The most important things to know, the things you should know no matter what, are that it cuts $1.2 trillion from healthcare coverage in the form of Medicaid cuts and subsidies for people to buy plans off the market. Oftentimes, these subsidies are for low-income people, the elderly, to help them afford health insurance because they need it the most. It also takes some taxes off of high-income earners. It does keep some from Obamacare, but not all. Some of the taxes that are taken away are on insurers, medical corporations that create and improve upon medical devices because everybody knows that they need to keep more money. Opioid treatment does get $45 billion. $45 billion is going to opioid treatment. Man, I'd practice that for like 5 minutes and I still can't get it. $45 billion is going to opioid treatment, which is good, but personally, I would like for it to be more. This opioid addiction of the United States is really, from everything I've read, is really getting a grip, and it's getting to the point where it's a huge, huge problem. So $45 billion, I'm glad it's in there, but I wish it was more. The last bill put forth by the Senate, which was scored by the CEO, said that 22 million more people would be uninsured because of the bill. This bill is projected to leave anywhere from 16 to 22 million uninsured. So there's that. Plus, my favorite senator, Ted Cruz, attached his own evil amendment to this, hoping to hurt sick people in really any way he possibly can. But I want to get into the Medicaid and subsidy cuts real quick before I get to that. Now, for those that don't know, which included me up until a few weeks ago, Medicaid is a jointly funded federal and state insurance program. It helps cover low-income people, needy people, disabled people. Really, the people who need health care the most, Medicaid helps. That's what the goal of the program is. This Senate bill wants to cut $1.2 trillion with a T, dollars from the Medicaid program. This is where the vast majority of people losing their insurance comes from, which means that the vast majority of those 16 to 22 million people that are expected to lose insurance under the new bill are the people who need health care the most. They're the poor, they're the needy, they're the disabled. The people who health care is designed to help are who the Republicans are hurting. In addition to the Medicaid cuts, subsidies are also being cut, though the bill does keep many of the subsidies from the Affordable Care Act. It does make the subsidies much less generous to the elderly. So instead of distributing money to Medicaid and subsidies to help those that need it the most, money is going into a fund for insurers, which is hoped, the key word there is hoped, to be used to lower costs put on consumers. Deductibles, premiums, buying in, those type of costs. The Republicans have basically just given a giant middle finger to the poor, the elderly, those who really need health care, while creating what is essentially a slush fund for insurers, without the requirement that it's used to lower cost. Just that it's hoped that the insurers will use the slush fund to lower costs. The bill only gets worse from there because now we are on to the Cruz Amendment, aka the Consumer Freedom Amendment. Really, this thing is just evil as hell. It lets insurers offer policies/plans that come with essentially zero benefits, meaning plans that come with basically nothing. They're literally just having a plan that come at a lower premium, and they're aimed at young people, the healthy, people who really don't need the insurance or really don't need a plan that comes with all the benefits. This amendment will result in sick people's premiums spiking to a level that would make a lot of plans unaffordable. It's basically hurting those with pre-existing conditions. Healthcare policy experts from all over the aisle have agreed that the Cruz Amendment would cripple the market, hurting those that need insurance the most. If you don't know where I stand on this bill right now, then I don't know what the hell to tell you, but I'm going to reiterate. Healthcare is there for those who need it. This bill attacks that idea. It attacks the core fundamental idea of healthcare. It institutes Ted Cruz's amendment. It institutes lifetime caps, meaning that if you have a baby and he's born with a pre-existing condition, he's born with some kind of medical condition, he could cap out at age 2, age 3, age 4, age 5. And then his medical costs from there on out are going to have to come out of pocket. That's ridiculous. That's exactly what Obamacare was designed to get rid of. It decreases subsidies for the elderly. If the last bill was mean, if the House bill was cruel, then this one is pure evil. This is awful. I cannot believe that a major U.S. political party seriously put this bill on the table. It's asinine. The Republicans are so damn hell-bent on repeal, replace, or at least modifying the Affordable Care Act that they're willing to throw people under the bus like this. People will die because of this bill, and all they care about is getting it through. The CBO score, they're expecting the CBO score, the Congressional Budget Office, which is a nonpartisan office, they're expecting a poor CBO score. They're telling people, forget the CBO score. The White House is going to come out with their own numbers because those can be trusted. This bill forces people, it will force people into a decision between keeping the lights on, feeding your family, or buying health care. Which is exactly the type of situation the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever the hell you want to call it, was designed to avoid. So that health care is affordable for those who really need it, for somebody who, if something were to happen to them and they needed a medical procedure, so that they don't break the bank, so they can keep moving. They're not crippled by this for years and years and years. And this bill completely undoes that. This bill is... If there's one thing that gets you involved in politics, that makes you want to call a senator, call your congressman, talk to somebody, tweet at them, email them, anything. If there's one thing that makes you want to do that, it's got to be this bill. It's crucial, absolutely crucial that this bill is defeated. So far, there's 4 senators that have been identified either as no's or they're leaning heavily towards saying no because of the cuts to Medicaid. They are Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who I had an Instagram post about last week, Dean Heller of Nevada, Rand Paul, of all people, of Kentucky, who has said he's a no, and Susan Collins, who has said she's a no. So if you're going to get involved, please get involved. Call one of those 4 people. Tweet at one of those 4 people. Email one of those 4 people. Make a difference. This really is not the time for self-promotion, and I'm way too passionate about this to try to promote the website right now. But if you go to the website, click Get Involved, click whoismyrepresentative.com, it'll give you links to their website and numbers to call. And it's extremely simple. Get involved. One thing. This is it. I'm going to do it. Everybody has got to do this. It may not affect you directly. It's going to affect somebody you know. So on that, see, this is why I really need sponsors. I need a transition after something like that because I don't want to just launch into another segment, another topic after making a call to action like that. So please, if you made it this far, please get involved. At very least, tweet. It would be even better if you could call or email. But now we are moving on to a new segment called Quick Hitters because I couldn't figure out what else to call it. First little piece of information. First, quick hitter. Trump approval is now dropped to 36%. His disapproval ratings are at 58%. Trump, of course, attacked this in a Sunday morning tweet, citing that the ABC Washington Post poll was very inaccurate during the election, which, of course, is proven to be, completely wrong. The poll was well within the margin of error in predicting the results of the election, though they did have Hillary winning. Both candidates' numbers were within the margin of error, so that claim is, of course, entirely false. The same poll also hit back at Trump's assertion that anybody would have taken that meeting that Donald Trump Jr. took with the Russian lawyer. 63% of America say that it was a bad idea, that they disapproved of it. So, just another Trump claim being disputed by fact. An ice chunk broke off of Antarctica this past week that weighs more than 1,000,000 metric tons and is roughly the size of Delaware. But, climate change isn't real. Scientists are just making that up. So, border wall. Trump's infamous border wall. This week he made a bizarre claim that the wall needs to be see-through to prevent people getting hit on the head by drugs that are thrown over. Evidently, there's an epidemic of people being hit on the head with drugs being thrown over the border right now that I or really anybody else was unaware of. So I think we really need to act on that. Also, in the month of August, I think I said August 21st, there's going to be a solar eclipse. It is the first total solar eclipse the U.S. has seen since 1979. It threatens to wipe out 9,000 megawatts of power, which is the equivalent of about 9 nuclear reactors worth of energy. Which, I really don't know what to tell you. You might lose your power. I got nothing for you. But if you're going to take any positive out of this, it's that it's really a testament to the widespread acceptance of solar power, that it hits this hard. Though this is a consequence of that. The Naples Daily News. I wanted to end the quick hitting with this because I have a little bit more to say about this. Commissioners did vote down the possibility of medical marijuana dispensaries in Collier County, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like I said last week, this is going to leave a huge amount of money, potentially huge amount of money on the table because of an irrational fear and declining to ease people's suffering. I'm not going to lie. When I first got into politics, I was a Republican, and this was one of the reasons why. I did not fully understand the reasoning behind legalizing marijuana or legalizing it to a point so that it can be used for medical purposes. I was against it. Now that I've done much more research and I'm much more well-versed in politics as a whole, I still, for the life of me, cannot figure out why this is a question. Let's see. It brings in billions and billions of dollars worth of revenue. It helps ease people's suffering, which, even if you don't like the idea of medical marijuana being legal or dispensaries being in Collier County, you can at least get on board with easing people's suffering. And the irrational fear I referenced, it's not like there's a huge segment of the population that wants to try marijuana but hasn't because it's illegal. I think I said it last week or the week before sometime. It's not that hard to find. If you don't know someone, your friend knows someone, or their friend knows someone, it's not like this drug is impossible to find. If you want to try it, you can try it without having to try that hard to find it, basically. That's not the best way to put it, but it's the truth. And that is the end of our segment entitled Quick Hitters, new to this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening through this far. Hopefully, you listened through this far. I cannot stress enough how important it is to get involved on this healthcare bill. Even if these aren't your senators, even if you don't care about politics in general, this is one thing everybody should be able to get around. Thank you to everybody for getting involved with the last episode, for listening, downloading, subscribing, all that. The numbers were actually pretty impressive last week. Be sure to check out politicallycharged.us, especially the Get Involved portion of the website. Click Who is my representative, find these people's emails and office numbers, and email the hell out of them. Be sure to check out the Instagram account, politically.charged. All you got to do is search Politically Charged for daily news updates. I think I'm doing 3 a day this week. And, of course, the Facebook page, which really has just turned into a gathering place for all of my content because, for whatever reason, everything publishes to Facebook. So, with that, this episode is over. Again, thank you very much for listening all the way through. And be sure to check out all the stuff I said. And with that, we out.